the recognized symbol of excellence for your entertainment.
Welcome to Machino Music, the show that puts the music in Machino Music, with your host, me, Brett Strong. Today on Machino Music, we're talking all about disco. Good afternoon, everybody. Alright, here we go. Disco. That's what we're talking about today. Yes, disco. So excited. So happy doing a disco show. Gotta have fun when you're talking about disco. I mean, say what you want. Because, you know, it's the decades, generations, that was a big spit. Decades, generations long debate here. Disco sucks. And they're like rock fans, not supposed to like disco. Let me tell you something, disco was great. I always dug disco. I heard disco pretty much since I can remember. My mom used to play disco, and I dig disco. So, yeah, it was like dying out by the time I was born. And, you know, by the time I was hearing modern pop music, which essentially was disco. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. That some of the pop music today that kind of, like, disco never died is what we're trying to say here. So, but let's start with some albums. Gotta start with this one. I mean, this is the disco soundtrack right here. I mean, the highest selling soundtrack of all time. The Bee Gees, Saturday Night Fever. This turned people on the Bee Gees. A gorgeous Barry Gibb right there. He was 70s hot, let me tell you. But like this turned people off on the Bee Gees. They were like, they're a pop band. What the hell is this? Why are they doing this singing? He's singing the falsetto. They're doing this cursed disco music. No, this is it's so good. I don't know how you can't like this. Other than, you know, a lot of the criticism of disco, I think, at least at the time in the 70s, amongst rock fans, most of them won't come out and say it, but there's a lot of homophobia, racism attached to it, these awful things. But I think really, for the most part, even if you weren't those things, it's like you're not invited to the party. Because Studio 54 was turning away people. You know, they're turning people left and right. A guy shows up, he's not shaved very well. He's kind of, you know, if I showed up, he'd probably say, "Get the hell out of here. You got too much hair on your face, you bum. Go sleep on the street, you pig." That's what they want me to do. But yeah, this is like the soundtrack to Studio 54 and all these clubs. You want to hear rock music, you go down the street to CBGB's or Max's Kansas City. But if you want to have the party, you're at Studio 54. Look at John Travolta there having a good time. But yeah, this is the disco soundtrack. Great record. I talked about it in my soundtrack albums episode way back. I'd like jerk a thumb. But yeah, I'm digging the disco. So that was some early disco. This is my cassette. A lot of these albums are like I found to my mom's records, but these are this was my cassette. I remember getting this because I dig me some Casey and the Sunshine Band. I mean, you got Shake 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 Your Booty. You got That's the Way I Like It, or That's the Way I Like It. Get Down Tonight, I'm Your Boogeyman. This is like their greatest hits. So good. Boogie Shoes. Keep It Comin', Love, such an underrated. This is like very early disco. This was like 1973, it goes back. And Casey and the Sunshine Band were one of the pioneers of disco. And I'm actually very fascinated about this time in New York City because you had these two amazing like cultural movements going on. You had punk rock happening with the aforementioned clubs, CBGB and Max's Kansas City. And then you had disco going on at the same time. It was going on everywhere, but New York City was really just that real hub. And, you know, me in Toronto, or as we call it the GTA, Toronto had a very similar feel to New York City at that time. So I even kind of now, so I feel kind of connected to that in that way. So maybe that's why I'm kind of digging disco a lot. Got a couple Barry White records. These are kind of early disco records. Barry White was doing some disco with his deep, deep voice. I can't do a Barry White voice. These are my mom's albums. See, they even say Janice on them. Here's the other one. Stone Gone. Janice. Janice put her name on the album, so at the end of the night you can say, "Oh, these are my records. I gotta take these home so I can like go. Oh, okay, I don't want to get them mixed up with Maureen Leonard's. Like, oh, okay, yeah. She didn't want to get her albums mixed up with Maureen Leonard, but yeah, this is an actual album, and this is 1973, kind of starting up there. And then this one is also 1973. He's conducting on this. He's conducting this at the Love Unlimited Orchestra. It's right giant printing. I'm looking at it like I need old man glasses. Eyes aren't that bad. Got something in. That's a problem. Fluffs all over the place. Love this compilation. You got Disco Gold right here. Lots of big hits on this one. I mean, Donna Summer, Love to Love You, Baby. She's having an orgasm on that song. How can you not love that? Beautiful Donna Summer, simulating an orgasm, singing Love to Love You, Baby. Yes, baby. Yes, please don't stop. Sal Soul Orchestra, Tangerine, they had a great Christmas album. Vicky Stu Robinson, Turn the Beat Around, that is a bop, a certified bop, as the kids like to say. That one you still hear that one like on commercials. A lot of these disco tunes you hear on commercials and like all kinds of stuff. To this day, you hear a lot of these tunes. George McRae, Rock Your Baby. I have that record somewhere. I would have blown my stack if I went looking for that one. I got so many more records. Like even when I talk about any topic, I can't find everything. It's like I live in the Addams Family house, basically. The house is a museum, and I can only dig up so many things. I'm gonna dig up bones one of these days, and I won't know who they belong to. All right, Silver Connection, Fly Robin Fly. That's on here. So good. The Hustle, Van McCoy. Oh man, you can still get down to the Hustle. Isn't that a great tune with that flute? Oh, so good. Love it. Andrea True Connection, More. That's another orgasm song right there. She was even a porn star. She was an actual living, breathing porn star. And the song's basically just about her getting it. Somebody's giving it to her raw right there, and she's saying, "I want more," because that's what they do. You know, they like you get all hot on the dance floor. You gotta go home. You gotta have sex. That's what it was all about. And I think the people who were jealous of her were kind of like, "I want some of that." The girls at the rock clubs, the dudes at the rock clubs, they're not good-looking people. The beautiful people are all doing disco. Why did they get to have all the fun? There's more of us than there are of them. It's jealousy, let me tell you. Yeah, just dig it. Also, this one has Walter Murphy and the Big Apple Band doing a fifth of Beethoven, which is also on the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack. Takes Beethoven's Fifth Symphony and just discos the hell out of it. Oh, so good. Got the Village People. This is a big Village People album. Cruisin', which is actually what the young men used to do when they'd go to different bars and they would find other young men to take home. They called that cruisin'. But see, the Village People, like, it was, again, this is the homophobia. aspect of disco, which is kind of unfortunate. I mean, they're having fun music. But yeah, the Village People were started to be like, they were a gay group, even though only the Indian, or the Native American, to be politically correct, Felipe Rose, was actually gay. Everyone else was playing the role. But they're playing up the gay stereotypes of Greenwich Village in New York City at the time. Yeah, dig it. This, of course, had YMCA. Got a song called The Women. You know, I mean, they were all straight, except for the Indians, so, you know, I guess they can sing a song about women. It's just people, verisimilitude. A stage truth, as we used to call it when you're a stand-up comic. You got to create a stage truth. You can say any kind of line of crap, but, you know, if you say it convincingly, you know, it's a stage truth. They believe you. I'm a cruiser, and then they go right to that one, which is, you know, I find the women, then I find the boys. But yeah, great, so good, dig this album. I'm going to do a whole Village People show soon. Michael Jackson was doing disco. This was his disco album just right before Thriller, 1979. Well, this is his last real big album before Thriller. Off the Wall, this is a special edition. Doesn't have the picture where he has a big afro. This is it's more like the later, like with the Rock With You video, which is on here. Great song, dig Rock With You. That I'm sure was played in discos. The big disco tune on here was Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. What a banger that one is. So good. Still hear that one. Working Day and Night, so good. And even had the last song is Burn This Disco Out. So there you go. You got his actual disco tune on here. Yeah. Get on the Floor is one of those. That's what they did. They got on the floor. They got all hot. Then they would go to Plato's Retreat and have even more fun.
Plato's Retreat, located in the Ansonia Hotel, is a unique club open to free-thinking adult couples. We offer a relaxing, no-pressure environment, complete with heated swimming pool and that great disco beat. Plato's may not be for everyone, but you won't know until you try it.
Rod Stewart, I forgot to take the plastic off of this. Usually I do. But yeah, Rod Stewart got on the disco. This is his disco album. We're kind of more into like the you know, the one-off albums, if you want to say that. But yeah, this was his disco record. Do You Think I'm Sexy? Yeah, that's probably the only disco tune on it. Most of this is all kind of standard Rod Stewart. I talked about this in the Rod Stewart show. And there he is on the back. Dig it. And I'm going to include this just because this was one of the last, I think, true disco albums, the first Madonna album. Madonna was a pioneer of everything. She was even doing punk rock on the same time. She was in the late 70s. She was in a punk group called the Breakfast Club, and she did some punk rock tunes. Most of them are kind of lost media, but she was also right in there with disco, and this is a very early disco album. I mean, Everybody is a disco tune. That was one of her first really big hits. Lucky Star, it's kind of disco. Holiday is so disco. Come on. And nobody was trying to set fire to Madonna. Well, maybe, but this was just huge. Because, again, it was crossover. She was doing something different with it. So, yeah, I think it was one of the true last disco records. And of course, more recently, 2005, she did pretty well a modern day disco record with Confessions on a Dance Floor, which is a great record. Even has a disco ball right on it. The disco ball is the O in Madonna. And then they got a disco ball, her foot behind it there. Yeah, so there's a reason why Madonna's the queen of pop, because she did a little bit of everything. She's the queen of pop culture. Dig it. I love Madonna. Here's a few one-offs. Alice Cooper Goes to Hell had a disco tune on it. Got the song You Gotta Dance. 1976 this came out. You're probably dancing Alice Cooper in the disco. Although it's more of a parody of disco. Even though it's very early, disco wasn't as huge as it was. More like 1977, 78. Disco kind of really blew up. But this song was 1976. Kind of in the middle of just for its big, huge explosion. But it's kind of more a parody. What this is trying to say, I think, is like, because Alice Cooper Goes to Hell and the music playing is disco. Hell is just one big disco, which is funny. And I'm sure Alice liked disco or appreciated disco, even though he was one of the rock guys that everyone was kind of championing. Yeah. But I think Alice, would have... I'm sure he appreciated. I don't think he really hated any type of music. And that's kind of what we do on this show. And why we're doing a blasted disco show in the first place, because I appreciate all kinds of music. Of course, Blondie with Parallel Lines. This was their disco album, even though the only real disco song, of course, was Heart of Glass, which kind of, again, was kind of more or less a parody of what was going on. But they totally embraced it and kind of did it on purpose. And originally, and this has the track, the Once I Had a Love, a.k.a. the disco song from 1978 version, which is... It's more of like a reggae feel to it, but it's still kind of got that disco beat, and that's kind of what they're going with. And then eventually made, of course, the song became Heart of Glass, which is so full disco. Everyone knows Heart of Glass. Great album. This is a classic album. Not a sinker in the bowl. And what's great about this is it's got the punk rock, new wave feel. CBGB's Studio 54 coming together. See, it could happen. And Blondie was making it happen. Dig it. Also, of course, Kiss. A lot of people jumped off the Kiss train with this one. Dynasty. But this is a great record. It's still a Kiss record. I mean, really, only the 3 songs. I Was Made for Loving You, the big single. I mean, that was the disco song. Paul Stanley singing in that falsetto. Yeah, and I mean, Sure Know Something is kind of disco. That got a disco, kind of the bass is kind of disco. And Dirty Livin'. They pretty well get the disco songs right away, because that's one of the first 4 tracks. And in between there's Ace Frehley doing his 2000 Man cover. Where if you turn the record off after, to hell with this disco stupid song, you would have missed the fantastic cover of the Rolling Stones' 2000 Man, Ace Frehley. But yeah, there's some great tunes on here. It's not all disco. We talked about Kiss so much, but it's got to be mentioned. And you know, all these guys were hanging out at Studio 54. They were allowed to get in. They're like, and Paul Stanley even said, like, read the whole, like, he wrote I Was Made for Loving You was the whole thing of, like, what he was sort of observing at the discos. Like, this is a very easy kind of song to write. Because it's like, it's all about tonight. Whereas, like, rock music, it's always kind of mentioning forever. I'm going to love you forever. I'm going to be with you forever. Let's make it forever. Let's have sex forever. Or whatever this thing is. But disco is all about tonight. Like, the world is going to burn down. We're going to burn this disco down. The apocalypse is coming. It's all about tonight. So, yeah, that's what it's about. So Paul Stanley kind of wrote I Was Made for Loving You, kind of based off of that idea. And how about a modern day? This was like the first real modern day disco album, 1998. When I was doing my pop albums episode, I included this because I remember this being a great record. But I went back and listened to it again, and man, I knew it was a great record, but I completely forgot how much of a disco album this is. I mean, of course, Believe is like a disco tune. When that came out, everyone was like, wow. Also, auto-tune became a thing because of that tune. But that's a whole other story. But, yeah. Believe is totally a disco tune, but there's a few others on here that are like so disco. The song's strong enough. It's even got the little boo, 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 boo. 1998, more like 1978. Yeah. But people didn't talk about it at the time. But yeah, disco was massive. And really, like I keep saying, disco never died. Disco is still around. The music of Dua Lipa is disco. I mean, the song she did for the Barbie soundtrack, Dance the Night Away, that's a disco tune. The music video has a big disco ball in it.
I stay on the beat, you can count on me. I ain't missing no steps.
So yeah, we still got disco. And yeah, you know, I dig disco music. I mean, it's kind of divisive even sort of today, but nobody talks about it because I'm over here, you're over here. It's like nobody is like, and everybody's kind of listening to a bit of everything, and that kind of started kind of with more my generation. I guess you'd call me a millennial. The timelines are all over the place on that. What am I doing with my hands? I'm trying. I can't stop dancing. I think is what I'm thinking about disco music. I'm starting to dance. So yeah, I was really happy to do a disco show. It's a lot of fun. Disco's fun music. So I just want to have a little fun here and just kind of, you know, just talk about disco, because talk about everything else, and like I say, I like a bit of everything. If you haven't noticed, if you've been watching this show, got a few new subscribers, so thank you for coming. Welcome aboard. Ahoy. My name is Brett Strong. Welcome to Machino Music. And yeah, we talk about a bit of everything here. We're talking about disco. And yeah, this has been a lot of fun. So if you're a fan of disco and you admit it, I hope you enjoyed this. That's it for this week. Until we meet again, this is Brett Strong saying good journey.